But real quickly, the response to what we've seen over the last 2 days with the change in the eruption. Effective this morning, we closed the Apaw Street area, Cemetery Road, and that was to prevent traffic from going through so that we could have what operations needed to take place on the road. I'll share a little bit what Helco is doing with protecting their poles out there, as well as we automatically deployed our incident command post, a mobile vehicle that's going to have, as of today, round-the-clock personnel in the field watching the eruption or watching the flow advancement round the clock. So if there's any change, we can let you folks know. We will be maintaining that operation, like I said, 24/7 going forward. We will likely this weekend, for the residents, we sit down with HVO every day and we talk about what's the possible forecast path or route that the flow may take. As was mentioned, it's very narrow at this point. It's moving at about 400 yards a day. We're going to watch that very closely. We're already doing the flights every morning. We may be doing 2 flights a day just so we see halfway through the day what's changed. But because it is accessible on the ground, we have the permissions from the landowners. We've been out there with HVO monitoring the advancement so we can track how fast it's moving. But as it's changed, one of the things we'll be doing this weekend is likely going door to door in some of the subdivisions, downslope, down along the forecasted track, just making sure we make contact with everybody. This is not to initiate an evacuation, but just to touch base, make sure everybody knows what's going on, and anyone that might need help with a shelter, if they're going to go to the shelter, because that will help our Red Cross partners with identifying how many people initially might be taking advantage of a shelter. As well, if there's any other special issues out there, we want to know ahead of time, well in advance of us requesting or directing anyone to evacuate. So be prepared to see us out and about in the community, civil defense, our CERT team members from the community going door to door and just making sure everybody's aware of what's going on with the flow and where we may be headed in the future. Okay, so just going through, and I apologize, I may be looking at my notes periodically just so I stay on track and don't forget to mention something of value and importance to you. So again, as you recall, you did a survey last week and there were some questions that you responded to and provided some tremendous feedback. A lot of it has to do with what were the concerns, uncertainties, unknowns that many people wanted information on. First being with regards to access, with the road access. As you've heard from Warren Lee, our Public Works Director, the Railroad Avenue Connector Road or Access Road is done. Beach Road is done. They are working on Chain of Craters Road and making progress, and they're on schedule moving forward. So that is taking place as we speak. There was some concerns during the week. We took some phone calls both at Civil Defense as well as at the Mayor's office and even DPW. People saw equipment moving around and thought that the work had been suspended or stopped on Chain of Craters. So again, to square away and clarify any confusion there, the work has not stopped. Progress continues and work is continuing on Chain of Craters Road. Here, with regards to Highway 130 and the discussion of bridging or coming up with some alternatives for breaching the highway, our State Department of Highways is in close communication with the Army Corps of Engineers, our Public Works Department, State Civil Defense. They are discussing on a regular basis the solutions or alternatives with if and when the flow approaches Highway 130, what can be considered with opening up a breach in the highway to allow the flow to move on its natural path, which, as again was said, it's very narrow at this point. If it was to stay narrow, there might be an opportunity to recover the highway much quicker if we do some of these mitigation strategies, which is just opening the highway. So they are looking into that. As far as bridging, how can we close a gap on a breached highway in the most safe and efficient and effective way that's practical? So these are things that are in the works. With regards to, power, again, that was a concern shared with regards to the survey. Helco is making every effort to try to provide for uninterrupted power in the community regardless of what happened. As I mentioned, they already, today with the status of the flow, they are deploying their protective measures around some of the poles on Apaw Street to try to preserve and lengthen the life of the poles and protect those power line systems in there. So that's in the works. Helco has already also been relocating large diesel generators into the area that could provide backup power in the event there is an interruption, as well as finding other alternative routes for the distribution. And as they'd like to stress, safety of the public as well as their employees is paramount. So they're going to do everything they can to ensure the safety of the community as well as their employees. And that's why they want, the time when we close off certain roads like Apaw Street, the time and the opportunity to do the work without any traffic coming through to ensure the safety of their staff as well. The other utilities, water, the water department has also already confirmed that they've done all the repairs for the Pohoa well site back here in the event of a water interruption. Because as the flow moves through and it goes over the roadway, crosses over their water mains, to prevent leakage and to maintain the system, they're gonna valve off both ends of where the flow crosses over. So they can stop the leakage and control the water flow. That means having a source on either side to continue water supply to the customers, all of you. So the water department has already identified the solutions by bringing the well behind the school here back online. They're also bringing a secondary site online as a backup. They have backup power generators for the well sites. So their goal is to also provide for uninterrupted water service. Lastly, on the line of utilities, our Department of Environmental Management with the Pohoa Transfer Station, it will be closing as of close of business day tomorrow. It will remain closed indefinitely as the flow is approaching, but they're also going to be opening up an alternative solid waste transfer station or waste collection site above the community center up behind where the skate park is at. And if you have questions on the specifics, again, when we break up later this evening, we do have staff from environmental management back here that can give you specifics of exactly where that site will be and if there's any special issues or concerns you may have. With regards to public safety services, again, a lot of questions and concerns raised with how safe is it going to be, what is government going to do to ensure the safety of the community if and when we have a situation of isolation. Police, fire, or EMS services, they're going to maintain the same level of services that the community is receiving now. The fire department is going to be relocating operations into the old fire station here, just down the road by the community center. They will have a full complement of personnel and equipment to include an ambulance, an engine, a water tanker, and a quick response vehicle. So they'll be able to service the area just as they've been doing prior to any impact. Police department will be doing the same thing. They're looking at alternate sites for base of operations, but they will maintain a solid workforce to respond to the public safety needs in the community. And as we've shared in the past, we have already requested, we haven't actually pulled the trigger on the deployment of the National Guard, but that request has already been put forth and they will be mobilizing resources here to increase the presence in the field with providing for safety and security. I'm sorry? I can talk to you about that later, no problem. So as far as the medical service, again, access to medical care, and as you heard me, I think 2 meetings prior, the Department of Health really wanted to encourage those who could move, who depend on regular access to medical care to consider that. And it wasn't to in any way minimize some of the challenges this community is faced with and people are faced with. We know people are struggling economically, don't have many choices, don't want to leave, this is your home. So trying to sustain healthcare services. The Bay Clinic is committed to operating as long as possible and then also providing resources on a site of isolation if and when that happens. Same thing for the Puna Community Medical Center. So these 2 entities are working very closely in trying to provide for sustained medical care and access to care if and when the roadways are blocked. Again, question came up. I think we've addressed this prior, but for those that weren't here at previous meetings, concerns whether or not the Postal Service was going to be in operation. And we have the postmaster from the local post office here. He comes to our office for every briefing we have on eruption so he can stay abreast of what's happening with the flow. And as he shared, as long as we tell them it's safe to be in business and they can be operational, and if there's going to be challenges with moving mail, we'll work together to address that. Their goal is to provide for postal services as long as it's safe to do so out of the post office. We know there's a lot of questions, concerns, frustrations post-Iselle with damages, recovery, qualifying for insurance, etc. Probably one of the best things we would like to share is please make contact with your mortgage lender to ensure they're aware of the situation you may be faced with and what kind of concessions or accommodations they might be able to make. With regards to insurance, if someone's having questions, we can get you connected with the appropriate agents to talk about your insurance issues, challenges. We've been maintaining the information center at the Bohol Community Center. Insurance is a big and frequent topic of discussion. But again, if you can make contact with your carrier, with your lender, et cetera, find out what are the options that you have, and if there's any challenges you're faced with, you can't get the answers you're looking for, let us know, we'll get you connected with the right person. Our housing department for the county has also been working to identify options for rentals, working with the Board of Realtors, and creating a list of listed available properties for rent outside of the area. And we have a website that you can go to which will feature a lot of the properties or access to information on properties that might be available for alternate sites for rental properties. And this would be the website there that you can go to and get some information. Access to basic needs, food, water, general groceries and commodities. The food basket is working very hard to come up with some creative solutions to provide access to basic food needs on the side that might be isolated or affected. That includes having points of pickup or distribution, working closely with the community association centers where retail sales for some of these things can take place and provide access to basic groceries and needs. So they are looking into this. We're working very closely with the food basket. The mayor's office is in very close contact with them, identifying solutions to provide for some of these fundamental needs if and when we have problems with access. Mental health care issues are also rising to the surface and are concerned. Things that are on or in the works right now is to address, especially the kids, not knowing what to expect, probably having, I want to say, visions of something that's not real that's out there, but some very scary things, and dealing with all of this. So we do have some agencies and organizations working on providing mental health care services and making that available here in the community. And before I forget which agencies we have here tonight, we have coming up some workshops, one starting Saturday, October 25th at the Puna Baptist Church. We have a workshop on how children react to disasters and ways to help. So again, if you're interested, you can come see me. We also have the Puna Baptist Church. I know I saw them raising their hand here on this side. So if you have questions about this particular workshop. We also have a self-care and stress management workshop being conducted by BISAC, Big Island Substance Abuse Center. So again, there's agencies that are trying to outreach and provide opportunity for people that may be having a hard time dealing with what's happening, to get someone to talk to get some assistance on how to cope with a very frustrating situation. As we told you from the start, this was going to be an extremely frustrating, just incredible event to go through with something that's unfolding so slow but has the potential of being very devastating in the long run and life-changing. And again, if you have interest in finding out more about these workshops or opportunities, these are the numbers you can call. And lastly, I want to say, again, thank you to the community for what's been going on here. I think we've demonstrated in this community truly the definition of resiliency with what you've been through with Iselle, been through with Hurricane Ana, and now faced with this eruption. And going forward, it's going to take everybody's help. Everyone's help and assistance is going to be needed. Every day when we do a radio message, I always end it with, we really appreciate everyone's cooperation and assistance. Whether it's dealing with us closing a road so that we can keep everyone safe, do what needs to be done, moving the transfer station. A lot of these things require everybody's assistance and participation and help, and we really need everyone's cooperation with that. So again, thank you for what you folks have been doing with all the events we've had, the feedback you've given us, the suggestions you've shared with us, the ideas, things we can all learn and make things better, make it a safer community.